Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to discuss sort of how a relationship with a covert narcissist will trigger and set up abandonment issues. So I think that's a great concept to bring up with the channel. And really, when we talk about a relationship with a covert narcissist, a covert psychopath, someone who is malignant narcissistic, it's to understand really the tension and the direction of emotional assimilation or adjustment, sort of what psychologists might call a schema or a story. That you are sort of developing about yourself and then the world and then this person. And so really a lot of schemas or stories, sort of how you organize things and how you think about things are sort of categorized, especially the tone and the sort of emotional vibration or emotional energy, how you feel, which influences how you think, how you behave, the decisions that you make, where you go in your life, whether you're happy, whether you're doing the behaviors that will make you happy or make you healthier, have discipline to reinforce yourself towards the goals and objectives and the dreams that you have, whether those become a reality for you or not, whether you make that shift or not, is definitely based on your firmness of resolution and belief and trust in self. I mean, just unequivocally, the I can attitude. I am worthy. I can do this. Trust and faith. That is the foundational experience. This is really sort of disrupted in a relationship with a covert narcissist. And I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to that, but we've got a couple other viewer questions to answer. But with this, it's to understand that there is a separation anxiety, which occurs in the relationship. Because of this enmeshment of boundaries. Sort of, people begin to have their boundaries violated. In other words, they will overextend themselves to keep a narcissist happy or to keep this other individual sort of where they're at. This becomes really, the problematic issue is the always aiming to please the covert narcissist for fear of disrupting them, the narcissistic rage that they might not be there for you, that aloofness, this checking out. Because of this dynamic, it creates a necessity or an aim to please, and then if this is not working, then a fear of abandonment or I can't make this work anymore seems to settle in or set off on a fight or flight panic mode. For many people who find themselves in this and entrenched in this sort of relationship, particularly where there aren't firm boundaries and standards. You really have to understand what your boundaries are and your I am is, and your full ownership and presence with this truth and this strength and this almighty power, which is a God-given right. I mean, that's your birthright, to be your I am. I mean, that's the whole issue. That's the whole, philosophical, existential question that ends up getting sort of always unanswered in a relationship where someone is sort of controlling you through this fear, controlling your then thoughts through this fear, controlling your emotional body through this fear of abandonment. Ultimately, that I'm not going to be able to make it on my own. In other words, that people pleasing. If that person is sort of impermanent or aloof or not there to be emotionally present for you, then the mind just sort of reels on its own. It's an automatic process, just like a reflex. Just like when you touch something and it's hot, you have an automatic process. This also is an automatic process, so it doesn't mean that you're weak, that there's something wrong with you, that you're not smart enough, a strong enough thinker. All those are learned and sort of taught and reinforced in an unhealthy relationship dynamic. So you need to be able to let go of that false identity that was set up, particularly that feeling of abandonment that is triggered. In other words, your source of what you rely on to keep somebody else happy. So it becomes just a double whammy. Very young children, infants, will experience a separation anxiety very much in a similar way when their parent leaves. In other words, who's going to take care of me? They really become fearful, and then they become fearful of strangers. But it's a similar, I would say, fear of abandonment. In other words, I can't make it alone. I'm uncomfortable with myself. I feel that I have hurt somebody, or I'm afraid that in the future someone is going to come back to me upset because they are hurt, because I am not good enough. So there becomes a lack of object permanence. So in other words, object permanence is another psychological term that describes the developmental stages. I think of Piaget, Jean Piaget, which first talked about this. Object permanence basically means even though you don't see it, you know it's still there. In other words, the dishes in the kitchen, even though you're not seeing them right now, you know that they're still there. You can count on it, rely on it. I mean, you've had that, time and time again. You count that it's there, and so this feeling that even when the person's not there, there's sort of this anxiety that is perpetuated and created. I think it's just always set up of the image that this person is either going to remain aloof, they're not going to communicate, you're going to get stonewalled, you're going to be ignored, you're not going to be validated, you're not able to think for the solutions for yourself. You've sort of gotten this other person sort of to do the thinking for you, or all of your decisions are unhealthfully, pivoting around this individual as a priority. So it becomes really a priority problem as well. And there's so many layers to understanding why that internal locus of control is detached from that sort of people pleasing and and sort of fear if they're gone, and then a release of resistance to that, and then stopping the self created and self perpetuating. Now you're sort of reinforcing or taking the baton that was, that trauma baton that was there earlier, and you're just still keeping it going yourself. So you have to realize that then the subconscious mind will just keep it playing for you unless you stop it, unless you put an end to it. I'm no longer going to think in that merry-go-round, fear-based mentality attitude anymore. I've outgrown that. It's no longer serving me. It's no longer necessary. I don't have to hold this person accountable and reliable for something that they are not accountable and reliable for. It's to give up that equation that does not make sense to your emotional bottom line. You have to realize then that you don't need to coax or cultivate a reaction, or to be always available, to always sacrifice for them, to base their happiness as more important than yours. That whole imbalance needs to be rebalanced. It needs to be able to come back to, I am important, I am strong, I do have an awareness of where my best lifestyle is, and I'm honoring and abiding by that now. I'm honoring that and that change, and I'm not going to allow my sort of ineffectual boundaries and standards keep me from living my best life. I'm going to create them and live by them and embrace them now for my own. So this is your time. This is your chance. You're understanding how to set it up properly now, and based in a feeling of confidence and a lack of self-consciousness, or overly self-conscious, meaning always too worried about oneself, worried about others, worried about your appearance, worried about your job, worried about what other people are thinking, worried about what other people are saying. I mean, it creates a whole nother schema of worry, which people then have a whole story that their I am is then caught up in as well. And so you have to realize, that there is a story that you're telling yourself that you have learned, through the looks you received, through the tone of voice that you received, through the body language that you experienced, through the feelings that you then allowed to sink deep, and didn't go unchecked. In other words, maybe you didn't have any way to vent this out. So you have to kind of look at how this has accumulated, and sort of accumulated within you, and then being willing to alchemize it, mean process it and bring it to the present and go, wow, okay, that, thank goodness it's not like that anymore. I am content. I am at peace. I am at one. Feeling an energetic shift that you no longer need to people please in order to be okay with yourself. So you have to realize that there is this sort of inability then to take care of oneself. I think what the abandonment issue is. So it's fearful of really based because of a lack of self-trust in one's own ability, that they were taught that they were ineffectual. So do you see how these erroneous thoughts, this flawed thinking, this emotional problem can be set up and exasperated and re-triggered? It becomes very edgy. It becomes too raw. It becomes out of control. It becomes uncomfortable. It verges on really dramatic unhappiness or negative toxic feelings. This is a sign that you've allowed this dynamic to overrun its stay, overrun its due, so you need to be able to stop it. I'm not going to play that record anymore. I'm breaking the vinyl. It can't be played anymore. I mean, I'm ripping up the tape. I'm taking down the receiver. I'm breaking the TV receiver that's keeping that coming into my thought field, my emotional field, my I am field, my quantum field that I exist in and operate on a daily basis. Whether I allow myself to receive then other messages and other experiences with a new schema, a new story, a new I am. Do you see how the stories will have a conflict of interest or a conflict, of philosophy? And so you need to realize that you need to go towards the positive, orderly direction thinking, being, feeling, and behaving, what I call pod thinking, and staying away from the nod thinking, feeling, behaving, and unbecoming. It's, and if you're still angry, at them, at the world, then really you're only angry at yourself. Really that's all that is, because you can't implicate, all these other people, and keep them on the hook. Otherwise, you're just limiting your trajectory of where you go in life. You're still allowing them to run and control your life. If that's not what you want, if you don't want the fear or them controlling your life anymore, say, I don't want fear or them controlling my life anymore. That is not what's working for me. And you just need to have a conscious awareness, pull it out from the subconscious, where it's sort of been going unattended to and sort of locked up, hiding within. So you have to sort of open up that treasure, that subconscious that's kept those limitations in your life. I mean, you literally have kept them. You can also release the limitations and say, I deserve unlimited contentment. I deserve unlimited happiness. I deserve to be at peace. I deserve to smile. I deserve to laugh. I deserve to jump, to clap, to, be in perfect energy alignment and eat healthy, to work out, to have a relationship, to go places. I deserve. I am. What are you waiting for? You're the only one who's keeping you behind the start gate. You haven't opened up the gate. All you have to do is to say, I'm free. I've opened up the gate, and then you go in pursuit of your dreams. Open up the gate. Open up the gate. It is okay. If you're not opening up the gate, it is because you're still allowing fear to run your life. You're allowing that to still have control over you. So the person who maybe was a control freak or a control monger is the one, who you're still allowing to control your life if you're still suffering. Do you still want them to control your life? Do you still want them to be operating in this fear mode? Or is it different? Can you make it different now? Are things different now? Is it, do you see, so you can see it clearly. I can see clearly now the rain is gone, get out of, the self-perpetuated rain cloud that you've got put yourself under. I mean, you have to come to the light. The light will get out in the sun. The sun will help to improve your mood. The vitamin D, lightness of being, get outside, garden, ride a bike, figure out how to get a moped, or, some little thing that is fun and gives you some new experience and some new energy. That separation anxiety is because, you've been taught that you're not enough, you're not good enough, your thoughts aren't important, how you feel is not important, so you felt devalued, perhaps in these formative years, these developmental years, year 0 through 7, you're really on the uptick on the receiving. You're receiving and you're very impressionable. So if this was set up earlier in your life, then you have to realize when and how long ago this was set up, and to realize you can unset it up. You can dismantle and take down that fear-based thinking, that fear-based identity that is based on, then you're afraid, that you aren't independent. Well, you are independent. It's time to acknowledge and validate that. You have got this. Don't worry about it. It's not as difficult as you are making it out to be. The fear will make things feel more difficult. The stress, the panic, the freaking out, you're not giving yourself enough sort of coherent and alignment thinking, and so if you have a lot of that negative energy, you need to get it out on the page. We talk about the brain drain, writing the first 3 pages of longhand every day right when you get up, just letting it all spill forth onto the page. I'm a big fan of writing. It's not the same as if you just type into a computer. We're talking about reconnecting with self, and especially now with the pandemic, everything has shifted. You got a lot of people, it's been super busy here. A lot of people are having issues. So you got to really realize that this is a dramatic time to do a universal reset, and you are included. Like, it's a massive change. So fully commit to yourself and fully commit to being emotionally strong and resilient, meaning, you're not controlled by all the reactions, the negative reactions of others. You're not, if you are still, then you're still allowing them to control your life. Is that what you want? Do you want to be controlled by that fear? Do you want to be controlled by that judgment? Or do you know better and you are okay? Do you see how you have to change the feeling, the thinking? You have to kind of dig in there and realize what is really controlling you. And oftentimes you might have felt under the thumb of someone who is trying to manipulate you. So you'll know it right away. You can do a lineup of people and then sort of, how does this person make you feel? If you could just do a scan of 100 people, some people put you at ease, some people make you feel uneasy, some make you feel fearful, paranoid. Trust your gut. Trust your gut. Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a mental exercise. And you can see those people who you don't trust, usually because there's something underhanded, vindictive, negative, sort of condescending, trying to get, use you to get places, or throw you under the bus to get places, to create a lot of negative energy to make them look better. So you have to realize that those vibes are in feelings and vibrations, meaning literally an energetic vibration in the heart space, in the abdomen, in held other areas of the body, whether it's clenching, nervousness, rapid breathing, how you are affected. These are all areas that you can work on and get and manage control over. And so it's a very good exercise, I think, to take yourself through this, because it'll show you why you're triggering this fear, which is that abandonment issue. And then you can be reliable to yourself. Namely, you have to start with number 1, and you, FYI, are number 1. You are number 1, and you are important. Period. End of story. If you are not number 1, then you are, what number are you? What number are, you've then allowed something else to disrupt your thinking process, and people get an attachment disorder problematic with either attaching and being, have a foundation strong within that is secure in self and isn't jealous or envious when other people have things, because you know that you have things and you're not threatened, by other people because they've worked and you've worked, and so it is. But someone who is insecure, like a narcissist, they always sort of have that fear that they want to be the best and better and better and better, and that if things aren't lined up with that, then all everything breaks loose. They've got that pathological envy and jealousy, and that creates a tension, and other people pick up on that. So, and then so if you're not in alignment, you might have been sort of feeling trampled over by these sort of very subtle emotional bullies. So don't be pushed around by an emotional bully. Know their tactics. Know the hurtful things that they don't do, or cause this fear that you can't make it on your own because you're not related to as a whole effectual person. You do have to stand up for yourself. You do have to inhabit this. It's a true holding of your space, and holding it in prosperity, holding it in abundance, holding it in connection with the divine, knowing that there's a bigger picture that's going to allow you to send you the right people in your life and the right solutions. But you have to have that perspective, that change of perspective. You have to have that breakthrough, that energetic shift. So you're now allowing, an automatic process for the solutions to kick up and pick up automatically. So rather than, reaching for the junk thoughts, you're reaching for the health thoughts. Rather than reaching for the junk food, you're reaching for the healthy food. You're no longer, having junk feelings about yourself, or allowing, that sort of sledgehammer to knock you down. Stop being, played for a fool, a ne'er-do-well. Look at the people who are not supportive of you, and realize that you don't maybe need those people in your life, and you certainly don't need to be relating to them in a way that puts them on a pedestal and you in a nowhere zone. Why are you putting yourself in some sort of feeling fearful that you're just sort of off the map, off the grid? It's okay to be on the map. It's okay to be on the grid. It's okay to feel good about yourself. It's okay to be validated. It's okay to smile, laugh, jump, dress up, dress down, eat healthy, improve your income, go after opportunities, become innovative and creative. Opportunity, crisis is also a time for opportunity. So what are you gonna do in a crisis? Are you gonna look for the opportunity? Are you gonna go there? Are you gonna back yourself up? Or are you gonna peter out? Are you gonna put sour puss out? Are you gonna, how long are you gonna allow that sort of waffling and floundering to go on? When are you gonna become decisive and take action, especially in the direction of your dreams, your desires, your objective, your goals? And those are the goals that you might have had for a long period of time, but you have not dusted those off. Where are they? Get them out, shine them up. Remember what they are. It's not too late, but if you keep procrastinating, you'll wonder why things never happened in your life. It's because, you didn't take the first step. So you have to take the first step. That's the first step is the greatest, that'll go get you the distance. It's not having these big audacious goals, or what have you. It's knowing that the baby steps make the big steps. So do the baby steps. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. Get rid of this shame-based thinking that oftentimes is perpetuated by this fear of abandonment, that trauma bond that is connected and sort of created really by those others who are seeking to, they're extremely manipulative, controlling, or there's even other pathology like psychopathy, where these other individuals really have a complete lack of empathy and a lack of sort of emotional connection with others. They don't have that, and they're very cold, callous, very wire-like, And so you might not have experienced, human warmth or connection during formative years, during developmental years. So you need to realize that there's some developmental work that you kind of go back and then develop. It's, just like the John Bradshaw, healing the wounded inner child, the homecoming. I mean, this is a reality. This is the power of the human mind to heal. But you have to allow the body to heal at that physiological, kinesthetic level, at the actual physical, not just cerebrally in the mind, but you have to really get it down to the subconscious. So that's why, listening to these, listening to affirmations is very important, that you do these things when the time is right, early in the morning, late in evening, while you're taking a nap. I mean, these are awesome times for you to work with reprogramming that, and so you remove that fear filter that always filters out your happiness. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace be with you, and have a beautiful day. Thank you for your viewership.